Welcome to the story of the album that many experts believe gave birth to traditional heavy metal. Today we're going back to the industrial heart of England in the mid-1970s. We're talking about Judas Priest and their second studio masterpiece, Sad Wings of Destiny, which was released on March 26, 1976, and now celebrating 50 years. Imagine a world where band members worked in gardens and factories by day and got by on just one meal a day. They had a tiny budget, but a massive vision. This is the story of how five men from Birmingham took the sounds of heavy hammers and steam and turned them into a musical revolution. To understand the album, you first have to understand where these musicians came from. They lived in the Midlands of England, a place filled with foundries and big steam hammers. Guitarist Glenn Tipton said he once, "When you hear those sounds day after day, you have heavy metal rhythm inside you from the very start." In 1974, Judas Priest released their first album, Rock-A-Rolla. It was a mix of hard rock and blues, but didn't quite capture the power they were looking for. They felt stuck. The producer at the time, Roger Bain, had even rejected some of their strongest songs. The band was also broke because they couldn't live off their music yet. They had to take day jobs. Glenn Tipton worked as a gardener. K.K. Downing worked in a factory, and Ian Hill, seen here looking like General Zod from Superman 2, was a delivery man. They were literal working-class heroes struggling to create something legendary. In November 1975, the band went to Rockfield Studios in Wales. They had very little money, only about £2,000, and that was just to record the whole thing. For comparison, they would later receive £60,000 advance just a few years later when they signed to a bigger label. But in 1975, they were hungry, both for food and for success. They brought with them the songs that had been rejected for their first album, including Tyrant, Genocide, and The Ripper.
You're in for surprise. You're in.
This time they worked with producers Max West and Jeffrey Calvert. They were moving away from the flower power and psychedelic sounds of the early 70s. Instead, they were building a new blueprint for metal, heavier rhythms, twin guitar melodies, and Rob Halford's legendary Banshee screams. If there's one song that defines the album, it is Victim of Changes. This track is actually a mashup of two different songs from two different eras of the band. Part of it came from an old song called Whiskey Woman, written by the band's original singer, Al Atkins. The other part was Red Light Lady, a song Rob Halford brought from his previous band, Hiroshima. When they combined them, they created an epic, nearly 8 minutes long. It had everything: heavy riffs, sudden tempo changes, and a vocal performance from Halford that still leaves people stunned today. It told a dark story about a woman struggling with alcohol and failing relationship. Many critics say this single song changed the course of metal history. Then there was The Ripper.
You're in for a shock.
This was a fast, devastating song about Jack the Ripper. Featured the incredible interplay between the two guitarists, Downing and Tipton. It also showcased Halford's ability to hit notes that Ozzy Osbourne once said were probably just below what only dogs can hear. The album also showed incredible range. On one hand, you had the heavy Sabbath-style track Deceiver. On the other hand, you had Dream of Deceiver, a soft and whimsical tune where Halford showed off some of his most staggering vocal work. Even though they were a heavy band, they weren't afraid to use piano for beautiful, tragic ballads like Epitaph. This mix of extremes, loud and soft, high and low, is what made them stand out. During this time, the band was still finding its visual identity. In 1975, they performed on the BBC's The Old Grey Whistle Test. They weren't wearing leathers and studs yet. They were dressed in traditional 1970s clothes like high-heeled boots and flowing shirts. The BBC had very strict rules about volume back then. Glenn Tipton remembered that the staff actually walked around the audience giving out earplugs before they start playing. The band was told it couldn't turn the amplifiers up past the level of 4. Tipton joked that they couldn't even go up to 11 like in the movies. It was a struggle to play heavy metal when you were being told to turn the volume down. The cover of Sad Wings of Destiny is one of the most famous in rock history. Painted by Patrick Woodruff, it shows a fallen angel surrounded by flames. If you look closely at the angel's neck, you will see a trident-shaped symbol hanging from a chain. This was the first appearance of what fans now call the Judas Priest cross, or the tuning fork logo. It would become a symbol of the band for the next 50 years. Interestingly, on the original pressing of the record, the two sides were accidentally swapped. Most fans today are used to the album starting with Victim of Changes, but the band's original plan was to start with the piano instrumental Prelude. By the time the album was released on March 23rd, 1976, Judas Priest knew they had something special, but they were still starving. Their label, Gold Records, wasn't giving them enough support to even eat properly. The band made a very difficult choice. They decided to break the contract with Gull so they could sign with a major label, CBS Records. This was a move made out of necessity, but it came with a huge cost. Because they broke the contract, the band lost all legal rights to the recordings of the first two albums. For nearly 50 years, the band did not own the masters to Sad Wings of Destiny. Rob Halford often called these albums treasures and said it was a shame they didn't own them. Well, here's the good news. Just recently, in 2023, Reach Music Publishing acquired those rights and began working with the band to finally bring these treasures back into the Priest family. This means we're finally getting high-quality official reissues of these legendary songs. I've read a few articles published today about it, so it has been confirmed there will be a 50th anniversary reissue of Sad Wings of Destiny. There's no release date yet, but when I know, or if you know, let us know, and if I know, I'll let you know. Moving on, today, Sad Wings of Destiny is ranked as one of the greatest metal albums ever made. Rob Halford still says it's his personal favorite, calling it a solid representation of the best of Priest. It was a moment they moved away from just being another rock band and became the metal gods we know today. They took the darkness of the industrial factories and the beauty of 70s art rock and mashed them together to create a new genre. Without this album, the new wave of British heavy metal might never have happened. It paved the way for bands like Iron Maiden and Metallica to take over the world in the 80s. So what do you think? Is Sad Wings of Destiny the true starting point of traditional heavy metal, not counting Black Sabbath, or do you think maybe Rock-a-Rolla deserves more credit? Let me know your favorites. Is it Victim of Changes, Dream or Deceiver? What's your favorite song? And I also reviewed this album 5 years ago for its 45th anniversary. I did it 5 years ago. It should be appearing on the screen right now if you want to watch it again. I'll probably have some more information on that one, or I say a lot of the same stuff. But anyway, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.